picture downtown Milwaukee. You're standing at the edge of this massive construction site.
Yeah, diesel engines roaring, crews everywhere.
Exactly. And they've just finished pouring a sprawling, really heavily engineered concrete foundation for what is supposed to be this historic project.
Oh, we're talking about the Edison.
Yes, the Edison. A $230 million, 31-story mass timber and concrete hybrid tower.
Huge project.
Massive. And it was designed, quite literally, to make history, to be the tallest timber building in North America.
Which is an incredible ambition.
Oh, for sure. You look at this foundation and you see the future of urban development. And then
September 2025 hits.
Yeah, September 2025.
Yeah.
And everything just completely stops.
Absolute silence on the site. I mean, the crews just go home.
The cranes lock up.
Exactly. The cranes lock up. And the chain link fences just sit there guarding this multi-million-dollar slab of concrete.
So today we are doing a deep dive into exactly how and why that happens. We've pulled together a ton of materials for this, detailed project autopsies, public financial filings, comprehensive market intelligence reports, the works.
Because for you, the listener, especially if you own a construction business and you're actively trying to, scale your operation safely, this is not just some local news story.
No, it really isn't. It's basically a masterclass case study in project failure.
Yeah, and our mission today is to extract the vital mechanisms behind this collapse so you can actually armor your own business against them.
Right, but we should probably establish right off the bat that this isn't about doom and gloom.
No, not at all. It's about preparation. I mean, commercial construction is incredibly complex, right?
Oh, definitely.
And understanding the anatomy of a failure, that's the fastest way to build a resilient company.
I always look at this whole situation like a giant optical illusion.
How do you mean?
Well, you look at the blueprints, right? You look at the poured foundation, and it appears to be this towering, guaranteed success on paper. But when you shift your angle...
and look underneath.
Exactly. You look underneath, and it's actually this massive financial sinkhole.
That optical illusion analogy it hits the nail on the head. Because in commercial construction, the physical structure is always the second thing you build.
Right. The capital comes first.
Exactly. The first thing you build is the capital structure. And if that underlying financial architecture is flawed, the physical building will never leave the ground.
Regardless of how beautiful the architectural renderings are.
Or how deep the foundation is poured, yeah.
Yeah.
What makes the Edison such a fascinating and frankly heartbreaking case study is just the sheer scale of the disconnect between the developer's dream and, well, the economic reality.
So let's unpack that dream first, just to, understand the stakes. We are talking about 357 luxury units.
A massive footprint.
Right. And it was supposed to surpass Milwaukee's own Ascent Tower, which, for context, is a 25-story mass timber building in the same city that actually got built.
Got funded, got built, and is currently successful.
Exactly. So the developer driving the Edison is a firm out of Madison, Wisconsin called Neutral.
Led by Nathan Hillback.
Right. And the general contractor, the folks actually putting the boots on the ground and taking on the physical execution risk, is C.D. Smith Construction out of Fond du Lac.
So we've got two highly established players here. You have a developer with a massive city-defining vision and a highly capable veteran GC.
The foundation gets poured.
And then the music stops.
Right. And when a project of this magnitude just screeches to a halt, the market immediately demands an explanation.
Oh, for sure. People want to know why. And the developer, Neutral, came out and pointed the finger squarely at external macroeconomic factors.
Which is so typical, right?
Very. They stated publicly that material costs and tariffs, specifically tariffs on imported steel and lumber, just completely killed their budget.
Okay, wait. I got to push back on that narrative right away. Because isn't it a classic playbook move to blame material costs and global tariffs when a project goes south?
It's the easiest excuse in the book.
Right. It feels like the perfect scapegoat because it's an external factor. You could just shrug your shoulders and say, hey, we wanted to build it, but the global supply chain stopped us.
Yeah, it's out of our hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we actually know if that's the real story? Or if it's just a smokescreen for a deeper cascading financial failure?
Well, the external excuse rarely tells the whole story, right?
Yeah.
And the public financial filings paint a very, very different picture.
What do they show?
When you look at the actual numbers surrounding the Edison, the whole tariff excuse starts to look incredibly thin. The true financial collapse here is staggering.
We're not just talking about a slight budget overrun on 2x4s.
No, not at all. 12 different firms have filed over $14 million in construction liens against the property.
Wow. $14 million in unpaid work.
Yes. And on top of that, the property has over $43,000 in tax delinquencies.
Oh, man.
But the most critical number, the fatal flaw in that capital structure we mentioned, was a projected financing shortfall of $25 million.
$25 million. That's a massive gap.
It's huge. And if there's any doubt that this was a systemic issue rather than just a lumber price spike, you have to consider the broader context.
Okay.
The developer, Neutral, recently lost their role in an entirely separate $700 million Marcus Peck redevelopment project in the same city.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this isn't an isolated incident of mass timber got too expensive?
Not at all.
This looks like a developer in the middle of a much broader financial meltdown.
Precisely. The $25 million gap wasn't a surprise sprung by sudden tariffs. It was a fundamental hole in the capital stack from day one.
Which brings us to the very first and arguably most important takeaway for any contractor listening who's looking to scale.
Follow the money.
Yes. You have to follow the money and aggressively vet the developer's financing before you even mobilize your crews.
Absolutely.
But I'm kind of confused about the mechanics of that. I mean, if C.D. Smith is a massive, highly experienced general contractor, how do they end up digging a hole for a developer who is $25 million short?
It happens more often than you'd think.
Because developers are notoriously guarded about their capital stack, right?
Yeah.
They don't just hand over their bank statements to the GC. So how does a contractor actually verify that the money is real?
It is difficult, yeah. But as the contractor taking on the execution risk, you carry the obligation to protect your own balance sheet. You have to demand proof of hard, committed capital.
Like, what does that look like?
Well, the capital stack usually involves senior debt from a major bank,
Right.
the developer's own equity, and then often mezzanine lenders.
Wait, mezzanine lenders. Those are the folks providing that high-interest bridge money, right?
Exactly. The bridge money between the main bank loan and a developer's cash. And a letter of intent from a mezzanine lender is absolutely not the same thing as committed funds.
So an LOI is basically just a polite handshake?
Pretty much. According to Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report, you can flag projects with financing gaps before you commit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you have to use that intelligence and insist on really transparent conversations during pre-construction. You need to know exactly where every single dollar is coming from and when it will be deployed.
Because if you start digging a massive hole without knowing definitively who is paying for the shovel...
You're the one who ends up buried in it.
Exactly. Which brings up the next critical question, right? What happens when the money actually isn't there?
You have to act fast.
Right. Your only real safety net as a contractor is your lien rights. And this is where I think we actually have to give C.D. Smith a lot of credit.
Oh, definitely. They handled the fallout well.
Yeah. They didn't just sit on their trailers hoping the developer would magically find $25 million in the couch cushions.
No, they acted decisively. And honestly, it serves as a textbook example of how to handle a deteriorating situation.
And break down the timeline for us.
So, work on the Edisons stopped in September 2025.
Right.
By November 2025, so just weeks later, C.D. Smith filed a $10.1 million construction lien.
They didn't wait around.
No, and they didn't pause there either. By March 6th of 2026, they followed up with an $11.3 million lawsuit for foreclosure and the sale of the property to recoup their costs.
See, I look at filing a lien like packing a parachute.
I like that analogy.
Right. You can't wait until you're already in free fall to start checking your state's statutory deadlines.
Yeah.
You have to meticulously pack it before you even get in the plane.
And in Wisconsin, the rule dictates that you have exactly 6 months from the last date work was performed to file that lien.
6 months? That clock is entirely unforgiving, I imagine.
Oh, it really is. And you've got to remember, every single state has its own distinct deadlines, preliminary notice requirements, and just different statutory frameworks overall.
So what does C.D. Smith do right here, specifically?
What they did correctly was recognizing the reality of the situation immediately. The most common trap contractors fall into is letting a developer string them along.
Oh, like just give us a few more weeks?
Exactly. The developer will say, hey, don't file a lien, it'll spook the bank. Our refinancing is just around the corner.
Right, they try to guilt trip you.
Yeah, and the contractor waits to be polite, The refinancing never comes, the 6-month window closes, and suddenly, boom, they have zero legal leverage.
They lose their place in line completely. So the universal lesson here is know your state deadlines and file early.
Don't hesitate.
If you smell smoke, pull the ripcord and file the lien. Because you can always release a lien later if the developer's check clears, right?
Exactly. Releasing it is easy.
But you can never go back in time to file it once that statutory window slams shut.
A filed lien is leverage. An expired right to lien is just, well, it's an expensive apology.
That's a great way to put it. So C.D. Smith pulled their ripcord because the money simply wasn't there. But the developer didn't admit they were broke. They blamed global tariffs and material costs.
The smokescreen.
Right. And while we've established that was likely a smokescreen, the excuse itself actually exposes a completely different trap that contractors fall into every single day.
Oh, absolutely. The contract structures.
Yeah, let's talk about predictable tariff exposure.
Well, the way risk is shifted in commercial construction contracts is critical to understand. The developer blamed tariffs on steel and lumber. But here's the reality check.
Okay.
By mid-2025, when this project was mobilizing, tariffs on those specific materials were not some unpredictable black swan event.
No, everyone was talking about them.
Exactly. They were a known, heavily discussed macroeconomic reality broadcast on basically every financial news network.
Anyone reading the morning paper knew supply chain costs were volatile and tariffs were in play.
Precisely. So if a general contractor builds a budget that lacks specific tariff contingencies or, material escalation clauses, what are they actually doing?
They're absorbing it.
They are essentially underwriting the developer's financial risk.
Wow. It's like writing a blank check to an insurance company before a hurricane hits.
That's exactly what it is.
You're absorbing the weather risk for a building you don't even own. I mean, if you sign a guaranteed maximum price contract at GMP without carving out protections for known geopolitical or supply chain variables, you're basically playing Wall Street with material futures on your own dime.
And that will erode your profit margins overnight.
I bet.
A GMP contract is designed to protect the owner by capping their costs, right? But it requires the contractor to be incredibly aggressive about defining what is explicitly excluded from that cap.
Tariffs have to be addressed in the contract language.
They must be, not just hoped away.
Okay, so that's the financial risk on materials, but then we have the specific material itself.
The mass timber.
Right. The Edison wasn't just, a standard tilt-up concrete box or a traditional steel frame. It was mass timber, which introduces an entirely different layer of risk regarding how the financial world views innovation.
Yeah. And let's be clear, mass timber is an incredible piece of technology.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It is. It's highly sustainable. It sequesters carbon. It's remarkably fast to assemble once the pieces are precision milled off-site.
And luxury renters love it.
They do. It has undeniable aesthetic appeal. But the failure of the Edison highlights the hidden hurdles of bringing innovative building methods to market.
I assume the hurdle isn't the engineering itself, but rather the folks writing the checks.
That is the core issue. I mean, Milwaukee already boasts the Ascent Tower, a 25-story mass timber building that was highly successful.
So the technology clearly works in that specific climate.
It does, but traditional lenders are deeply unfamiliar with mass timber when you push it to a 31-story scale.
Right, the extra height changes the math.
Completely. Lenders operate by looking backwards. They assess risk based on historical data. And when a lender doesn't understand the mechanisms of a new asset class, they either price the risk punitively high or they just walk away entirely.
I can just imagine a conservative bank underwriter looking at a 31-story wooden building and just sweating through their suit.
Oh, they absolutely do. And appraisals become a massive roadblock, too.
How so?
Because commercial real estate relies on comparable buildings or comps. To value a building, an appraiser looks at 5 similar buildings that sold in the same market over the last, say, 2 years.
Right.
Well, if you are building the first 31-story mass timber tower in the region, there are 0 comps.
0. How do you value something that has no precedent?
It's incredibly difficult. And that friction, it bleeds right into the insurance sector as well.
Oh, I didn't even think about insurance.
Yeah, builder's risk insurance, which protects the project during construction, and long-term property insurance are significantly more expensive for mass timber.
Because they just don't have the data.
Exactly. The actuarial data simply doesn't stretch back 50 years like it does for reinforced concrete and steel. The underwriters don't have decades of data on water damage, fire response, or, long-term structural settling for a timber building of that height.
So ultimately, the failure of the Edison wasn't a failure of architectural engineering.
Yeah, no.
It was a failure to finance an unconventional asset class.
Spot on.
Okay, so if I'm a mid-sized contractor listening to this, and I'm actively trying to grow my business, does this mean I should actively avoid cutting-edge builds? Like, should we all just stick to building standard concrete parking garages to avoid this kind of nightmare?
No, definitely not. Innovation is where the highest margins and the best brand positioning are found. And mass timber is undoubtedly the future in many urban core markets.
So you shouldn't avoid it.
You shouldn't.
Yeah.
But it requires a vastly different level of due diligence.
Gotcha.
If you take on a highly unique project, verifying the developer's bank account isn't enough. You have to verify that the financing is specifically underwritten and committed for that exact building type.
Oh, wow.
The senior lenders must be fully educated on the technology, and the specialized insurance policies must be locked in and priced out before you ever start moving dirt.
That distinction is so crucial. You aren't just checking if they have money, you're checking if their money understands the building.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say you do everything right.
Okay.
You check the financing, you pack your parachute with airtight lengths, you build material contingencies into your GMP contract, and you make sure the bank actually understands mass timber.
A perfect pre-construction phase.
Right. But even if you execute all of that flawlessly, there is one final fatal flaw that can take your entire company down.
And it has nothing to do with the physical project itself.
Exactly. It comes down to the underlying structure of the contractor's own business.
The ultimate safety net. Diversification and scale.
Yes. Think about C.D. Smith's position. They have $11.3 million tied up in a single stalled project.
Right.
Now, they are a massive, well-capitalized organization, so they have the bandwidth to absorb that blow and fight it out in court over the next few years.
They'll survive it.
But for a mid-sized contractor trying to scale up, an $11.3 million hole wouldn't just be a setback, it would be an extinction-level event.
It would bankrupt them before the very first court hearing.
Exactly.
This brings up the golden rule of portfolio management in commercial construction. Never let one project or one single client represent more than 25% of your total annual revenue.
And as highlighted in Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report, utilizing financial analytics shows your revenue concentration risk by client.
Exactly. You have to track that concentration constantly.
Because if you have 50% of your revenue tied up in a single 31-story tower, you aren't really running an independent business anymore.
No, you've effectively become an extension of that developer's balance sheet.
Right. If they make a bad bet, your company is under.
The vulnerability is absolute, but the challenge, of course, is that diversifying your client base means taking on a higher volume of projects.
Which sounds great until you have to manage them.
Right. It means bidding on, winning, and executing 4 $10 million jobs instead of one $40 million mega project.
And for a lot of construction owners, the immediate pushback is just administrative panic.
Oh, yeah. They say, I don't have the overhead bandwidth to manage 4 separate project managers, 4 sets of architects, 4 different site superintendents doing daily logs, and 4 different billing cycles.
That sounds exhausting.
It does. So they take the massive mega project because it feels operationally simpler to just park their entire workforce on one site for 3 years.
But the Edison proves that simple is often a trap.
A very expensive trap.
Right. Putting all your operational eggs in one massive basket is a recipe for disaster if the handle breaks. So how do contractors actually scale safely? How do they diversify and take on more projects without drowning in a tidal wave of paperwork and, administrative overload?
That is where the operational side of the business has to evolve right alongside field operations. You have to leverage modern tools to gain visibility across a wider portfolio.
Like what kind of tools?
Well, the sources we're analyzing detail the capabilities of specific software platforms designed to solve this exact bottleneck. Think about the sheer volume of unstructured data generated on a construction site every single day.
Oh, it's insane.
Right. Photos, revised plans, municipal permits, RFIs, which are requests for information submittals, and daily field reports.
It's just a mountain of PDFs and chaotic email threads.
Exactly. But when you implement AI-powered document organization, those files are automatically tagged, categorized, and linked.
So you aren't digging through folders.
Right. Project managers aren't spending 3 hours a day clicking through poorly named folders to find a specific structural specification. The system just surfaces it instantly.
That's huge.
Or consider the daily logs and meeting minutes. Instead of a project executive reading through 20 pages of handwritten field notes across 4 different jobs, the system generates clear, automated summaries.
Oh, highlighting only the key takeaways and pending action items.
Precisely.
But okay, connect the dots for me here, though.
Sure.
How does an AI summarizing a meeting minute actually prevent a contractor from missing a $25 million financing gap like we saw at the Edison?
It's a great question. It's entirely about human bandwidth and visibility.
Okay.
If a project manager is buried under 400 open RFIs, spending their entire week manually drafting responses and hunting for specs, their head is down in the weeds.
They're just trying to survive the day.
Exactly. They aren't going to notice that the developer has dodged 3 emails about the next draw payment.
I see.
They won't have the time to properly review a new contract amendment for hidden tariff exposure.
So the technology isn't just about saving an hour of typing. It's about reallocating human intelligence.
Exactly the point. Scaling safely means building an infrastructure that handles the routine administrative coordination automatically.
That makes total sense.
Platforms that offer automated schedule risk detection and budget variance insights, they allow leadership to see exactly where the money and time are slipping across 10 different projects at once.
Because it pulls data from those RFIs, extracts details from the architectural drawings, and basically flags the anomalies for you.
Right. When the software handles the noise, your human team actually has the bandwidth to apply critical thinking to real risk management.
So instead of your project manager functioning as a highly paid secretary hunting for documents,
They're actually functioning as a project manager.
right, they're looking at the horizon, spotting the financial red flags before the foundation is even poured.
They become proactive instead of reactive. And that is really the only way to manage a diversified portfolio of projects without burning out your core team.
Wow. Let's bring all of this together, because the collapse of the Edison isn't just a story about a quiet fenced-off hole in the ground in Milwaukee.
No, it's a warning.
It is a detailed roadmap of the traps waiting for growing contractors. So we've extracted 5 core mechanisms to protect your business today.
Let's run through them.
First, aggressively vet the financing. Demand proof of hard, committed capital and truly understand the layers of the capital stack.
Second, protect your work by filing your liens early. Know your state's statutory deadlines and don't let false promises delay you.
Third, budget for predictable risks. Don't sign a GMP contract that forces you to absorb the developer's tariff and supply chain risks.
Fourth, understand the niche vulnerabilities of your specific project type. If you're building mass timber, ensure the lenders and insurers actually have the actuarial data to support it.
And fifth, protect your company structure by diversifying. Never let one project exceed 25% of your revenue and deploy the right operational tech to manage that wider portfolio without burying your team in administrative chaos.
Implementing those principles is really the difference between surviving a chaotic market and becoming a cautionary tale.
Absolutely.
It's how you protect your margins, shield your workforce, and guarantee your company's future.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with. Something to deeply mull over as you review your own project pipeline this week.
What's that?
Well, if a highly publicized $230 million project with top-tier players can completely collapse because of a massive financing gap, a gap conveniently hidden behind the excuse of global tariffs, what risks are currently sitting unexamined in your own backlog of sure-thing projects simply because the developer is a familiar face?
That's a great question.
Are you assuming the financial foundation is solid, or have you actually checked the map yourself? Because remember, an optical illusion only works if you refuse to walk around and look at it from a different angle.
A vital perspective to take before you sign your next contract.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. If this breakdown gave you a new perspective on how to protect and scale your construction business, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite platform.
And please share this deep dive with your project managers, your estimators, and your colleagues in the industry, because a smarter, safer industry benefits all of us.
Absolutely. And for more tools and insights on scaling your operation safely, make sure to visit smartbusinessautomator.com. Stay sharp out there, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.